Ruralization, ruralism, rural settlement, rural livelihood. We were talking about bringing all the rural livelihood into the urban lifestyle. But what are the concerns? Of course, we don't have the techniques, we don't have the time, we don't have the resources. What are the resources? Of course, the land and water. But what if I tell you to bringing the rural livelihood to the urban lifestyle? You don't need any of this. Are you kidding me? Artist without a canvas, athlete without a ground, speaker without a stage. Evolutionary change is the only constant. You know, when there is a problem, there is always a hard way and a smart way. So, in farming, there are several smart farming techniques, of course. But we are going to talk about aeroponics, hydroponics, vertical farming in this video. Number one, aeroponics. What is aeroponics? Generally, roots, they spread inside the soil because they have to absorb the nutrients from the soil such that the plant can grow. But in this case, in aeroponics, the roots are suspended in the air. If the roots are suspended in the air, where does the nutrients come from for the plants to grow? A dense nutrient mist is sprayed on the roots such that the roots can absorb the nutrient from the mist, and of course, the growth will happen. And what are all the plants that can be grown in this method is, microgreens. Microgreens are generally used in high-end restaurants to garnish, soups, pizzas, salads, and lettuce, basil, pea shoots. These are the crops that can be grown, and this hardly takes 3 to 5 days, after the seed germination for the harvest. And one important thing in this method is we can achieve high yield. And the major concerns, for example, the water consumption is very less, and we don't require soil for this method of harvesting, and no requirement of land at all. So these are the major concerns for the farmers, right? Soil, a huge land area, and water. All these three are not necessary for this methodology. Number two is hydroponics. Here the roots are not suspended in the air but immersed in a nutrient-rich water solution. Of course, with the name hydroponics, water is involved here, but there is no requirement of soil or there is no requirement of huge land area. So that two concerns are met, and of course, the water consumption is very less, way too less when compared to conventional agriculture. Here, the yield is very, very high because the roots are in contact with the nutrient-rich water, okay? So the yield will be double, triple, or maybe quadruple. So, if you are going to use hydroponics for your basic personal kitchen use, make sure that you sow only a limited amount of crops because the yield will be very high and it will be very hard to maintain. And if you are thinking this as a commercial, as your business, then make sure that if you're going to sow different varieties of crops, make sure that you put greens together and red chilies and tomatoes, these are all together. And what are all the crops that you can grow through a hydroponic system is, of course, vegetables can be grown here. Of course, all the greens similar to what we harvested in an aeroponic system, and the fruits can be grown. Any crop that do not require a huge area of land to grow, that are not climbers, that are not creepers, can be grown through a hydroponic system. Number three is vertical farming. Vertical farming is nothing but growing crops, of course, in a closed atmosphere in a vertical stacks, 5 layer, 6 layer, 7 layer, 8 layer, however large your area is, you can establish a vertical farm. What is the methodology of growing crops here? The same. We spoke about aeroponics, hydroponics. All these can be applied, to grow crops in a vertical farming methodology. What can be achieved here? In a very small place, as we are, growing crops in a vertical stacks, huge yield can be achieved. So these are some of the smart farming techniques that we just did a touch base on that. And in our upcoming videos, we'll be going in detail about what is aeroponics, how was it, coined, who was the first one to establish, how it was brought into practice, what is hydroponics and what is vertical farming, what are all the yields that are achieved, what are all the changes they are bringing in the agricultural sector. More such topics will be covered in our channel. And of course, you have to stay tuned with us. These are all just a thought, bringing rural livelihood into the urban settlement. These are just a thought, and sometimes, just a thought can be the first step to a bigger change. Thank you.